My name is Natalie Unwin-Kuruneri. I'm Assistant Dean of Academic Affairs here at the Climate School. Welcome. I want to echo the congratulations that I'm sure you've heard throughout the morning on your acceptance to the Climate School. It is an important and exciting time to be studying climate. This is an amazing learning and research community. I've been working here at Columbia for a while, so I can attest to that with being an informed person on that. And yeah, just welcome. Thrilled to have you here. I will be moderating today's student panel. I'm joined by 6 current students who represent the 3 different master's programs at the Climate School. I'm sure they're maybe having a little bit of deja vu because they were in your shoes not so long ago. You know, they can definitely understand where you're coming from and hopefully can share their experiences to help you make your own decision. And so they're going to share what brought them to the Climate School, what their experience has been like in their programs. And our goal is very much to help you understand what it is like to be a student here, what the programs are like, what you would experience being here, and then, again, hopefully help you make your decision. So I'm going to introduce each panelist by reading a short bio that they have shared, and then I'll pose some starter questions, and then turn it over to all of you. Do we have pictures of them, Alfred? Okay, great, wonderful. Then I'll open it up to you to make sure that you all get your questions answered as well. So first, we have Evan Moretti, who is in the MS in Climate Finance program. He's also president of the Columbia Climate Graduate Council, which is our student government. Evan graduated with a BA from Duke's Sanford School of Public Policy, where he also pursued a focus on East Asian politics and U.S. relations. He has worked as a financial data analyst at Curinos and as a brand strategy and market research consultant at Ipsos Strategy 3. Evan's passion for climate solutions comes from his experience conducting sustainability research within the energy industry at Ipsos, and he's pursuing the MS in Climate Finance degree to better understand how to drive capital towards mitigation and adaptation projects. Next to Evan is Kira. She's in the MS in Climate program. She's a graduate of the University of California, Berkeley, where she studied molecular environmental biology and data science. Kira is passionate about nature-based climate solutions, and before matriculating to the Climate School, Kira worked as an air quality rule writer for the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. And she's currently working as a research assistant in the Soil Systems Lab at the Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory, which I think some of you will be visiting later today. Allison Karabu is in the MS in Climate program as well. She's pursuing the Advanced Certificate in Climate Systems and Analytics. She graduated from Huron at Western University of Ontario with a BA in Global Development focused on Indigenous self-determination and environmental conservation. Allison has conducted community-based climate and development research in coastal Kenya, Argentina, and Brazil. She previously worked with the Aga Khan Foundation on climate resilience planning across 11 countries and currently works with the National Center of Disaster Preparedness, studying how early warning systems inform disaster risk reduction. Next to Allison is Nikko. He is in the MA in Climate and Society program. He's a graduate of Knox College, where he earned 2 BAs in environmental studies and public policy. He's currently a research fellow under Dr. Sheila Foster, one of our amazing faculty members, where he supports 2 major research projects, Cities Uniting to Reduce Energy Insecurity and the North Tulsa Community Land and Governance Initiative. His work focuses on collaborative governance systems, energy equity, and community-driven land acquisition strategies. Christopher Swain is also in the MA in Climate and Society program. He's a graduate of Wesleyan and an environmental advocate and open water swimmer who has spent 30 years swimming in polluted waterways in support of universal human rights, environmental health, and climate justice. He was the first person in history to swim the entire length of the Hudson, the Charles, the Columbia, the Mystic, Mohawk, Boise, and East Rivers, as well as the entire lengths of Lake Champlain, the Gowanus Canal, Newtown Creek, Long Island Sound, and Narragansett Bay. So I think that deserves a round of applause. And last fall, he launched a campaign for a U.S. constitutional amendment designed to protect nature, the climate, and future generations. And next to Chris, we have Stella, who is also in the MA in Climate and Society program. She is an environmental scientist and waste management expert with over a decade of experience working across the public and private sectors on climate and circular economy solutions. Originally from Brazil, Stella has worked on carbon markets, recycling systems, and sustainability strategies with a focus on developing circular solutions that contribute to decarbonization and more efficient resource use. She's particularly interested in advancing market-based and business-driven approaches to reduce emissions and transform material and supply chains. So, incredibly impressive people, amazing backgrounds, very, very diverse. I think you can see there's no one profile of a student that comes to these programs. So Evan, starting with you, tell us a little bit about your climate and environmental sustainability story and what led to your interest in this space.
Sure. I just want to start by welcoming everybody and congratulating you on your acceptance. You should be beyond excited to be part of this amazing school. So my journey with sustainability started when I was doing market research and brand strategy consulting at a firm called Ipsos in Manhattan. And I had a huge project with a firm called ExxonMobil. And the long story short of this the project is that we did a really great analysis for them, projecting EV growth over the next 10 years, and it just sort of fell flat. And one of the major takeaways of that project was there was so much potential to drive so much real action, and I, nor did my team, nor many other people in the professional space at that time, really had the tools to quantify the impacts that this would have from a financial perspective. So I thought I should really turn my career to a place where I could help drive money, investment, resources into decisions that would really matter. So that's what led me here. I think I'm going to leave it there.
Kira, next up.
Hello, everyone. So I think my climate and sustainability story kind of started a little early. When I was in high school, I became a teen volunteer at Woodland Park Zoo in Seattle, and we would have guest presenters every month or so, and they had an Arctic soil core scientist. So ice core scientist. She brought her ice core, and we got to see it in person. She opened the big container, and we got to see, oh, this is how they measure climate data. This is how we know. This is one of the ways that we know that the climate is changing. How cool is that? And then we also learned how that was impacting ecosystems around the world, because we were doing a zoo volunteer program, and it was very focused on environmental conservation. So that was kind of my journey into more environmental sciences. Then I studied environmental biology at UC Berkeley. I got to have a lot of different varied research experiences related to the intersection between ecology and climate. And that also made me interested in I want to get into one of these agencies that's actually doing real work on this. So I applied to the EPA and fortunately was given an offer. I think it was also a really great time because the Inflation Reduction Act was in full effect, and they were starting to hire more and more people. I got to have a little bit of experience evaluating climate grants and climate grant applications, and so that was a really cool experience. But of course, a lot of things changed last year, and I felt I want to keep being part of this momentum, and I don't think I'm going to find it here, so I decided to apply to the climate school, and ever since it's been absolutely fantastic.
Thank you. Allison.
Is this on? Okay. Hi. Yeah, also just wanted to echo the same sentiment of welcome and congrats. For me, my climate story, it's progressively getting earlier and earlier. Mine is really young. So my background is I'm Kenyan, but I grew up in 6 different countries. So aside from always having an identity crisis, I always try and find a point of connection. And for me, that was for my heritage. So my family is predominantly agriculturalists. We are from Nyandarua County in central Kenya. And there's a lake that pretty much supplies all the water for some of the most driest arid regions in northern Kenya. And it's a really cool ecosystem. I grew up having crested cranes and hippos coming out at sundown, and I was getting yelled at because we didn't come back home early enough. So in 2022, we noticed that it's just the ecosystem was slowly changing. Why is the grass looking less green? It's not even as lush anymore. The crested cranes were not coming as frequently. And one day when I was going with my cousins, we see okay, there's no water. Literally there was no water in the lake. The lake had been dried up with 3 consecutive failed rainfalls. East Africa has the highest climate variability. That had never happened, although it was kind of expected that we have a lot of changes in the climate since I think the 60s. So growing up in all these different countries, I started to realize that like every community I was in, there was just some proximity to a change in the environment. And that kind of led me to do my studies of like self-determination of indigenous communities. Why is it that people have known for a long time, this is how we preserve the environment, this is how we take care of it, this is how you live in it, but in a society that's like growing closer and closer to more industrialized urban spaces, that disconnect is widening. And some of the methods and empirical, like statistical studies that are done leave out those same communities that know exactly how to take care of their spaces. So I just saw this gap where I was like, these communities are being infected this way disproportionately, but their understanding of how the world works and how to take care of it is missing in a lot of the scientific framing of even measuring why these divides and changes are happening. So that was kind of my motivation to bridge that gap, and also just be an advocate from like my community. I'm the second woman to get like a master's from my mom's side, and it means a lot. So yeah. Thank you.
Welcome to the Climate School again. Hope you guys enjoyed New York. I think my journey started in middle school. I have 3 older siblings, and 2 of them studied the environment and energy in undergrad at the time. So I kind of, you could say I got indoctrinated by my siblings a little bit. And growing up, I'm from the Midwest, and it's a very industrial town with a lot of railroad tracks. And when I'd visit my grandparents, we'd go on the other side of the tracks. And I kind of just like noticed it was like a little more, it was more rough around the edges. And I didn't think too much of it because I was a kid. But as I kind of learned more about the climate science, as I was younger, the next step was kind of the impacts, who was impacted, kind of looking at it at a systems level. And that kind of led me down the road of energy justice, energy equity. And I was very, very curious about who's burdening these impacts. Well, yes, there's a bunch of resources being dumped in places, but where are those places? What are those patterns? Why are they being dumped in those places, X, Y, and Z? And kind of led me down the road of getting into public policy. And so I did my thesis on governance structures and kind of how communities can reacquire land and kind of govern amongst themselves and protect themselves from polluting industries and other industries from coming into their communities. So did my thesis on Professor Foster's research. Little did I know Professor Foster worked here, and I decided to apply here and worked with her actually before I applied, as I had some troubles with my research, and built a really good relationship, wanted to continue doing this work. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christopher. I remember sitting where you were sitting thinking, oh, my God, how do I figure out whether I should come here and spend this money? Can I do it? Is it going to work? I'm not sure I even have the answers to those things now. But why did I come to the climate school, as far as I know? As you heard, I was out there in the field doing all kinds of human rights, clean water, climate work, and interviewing the people that I met in different watersheds. And one of the things that I found is that while people thought it was fun to hear my stories and public comments at meetings about what it's like to swim through other people's sewage and all that, that in the rooms where decisions were getting made and things were getting negotiated, I often didn't have a place at the table. Those places were often occupied by, and fair enough, academics, researchers, agency people, government folks. And I think that frustrated me because I wasn't getting to share all this field experience that I had. Another experience that I was having out there, and some of you might have had this as well, I felt as someone working in the environment space, in the human rights space, that the climate conversation was on track to take over all the other conversations. So it's not that the threat of nuclear war or the dilemmas we face with systemic racism and misogyny are going away. They're not. But the climate was going to become 10, 15 years from now the thing you couldn't ignore. So I think part of what brought me to the climate school was I wanted to be a part of that conversation, and I wanted to make sure I had a place at the table.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the Climate School. I know you might be nervous, you might be having doubts, but I want to say that it made one of the best decisions of my life. I'm super thrilled to be here. And my climate journey started actually my first year in my undergrad. I went to a dump site in Brazil, like a 40 meters high pile of waste. And when I was on top of that mountain, I was seeing people fighting vultures to see who would get the first bag. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this exists. We usually do what? We take out our trash out, we put it by the door, and it magically disappears, right? When I saw it, I was like, this is insane. I can't believe this is reality. Wall-E all over. So I started working with waste, and I made like my life mission too, trying to solve this problem. So I worked for public agencies, in private companies, startups, technology. And the last job I had, I was working at a startup, and we were diverting organic waste from landfills, and we were building carbon credits out of it. Then I found out about the potential of decarbonization when you treat waste. There's a lot of possibilities when you do things correctly. And I wanted to understand more. So that's why I was like, I reached a point in my career where I needed to go back to school and to study and to understand and to have the best professionals alongside with me in my journey. And that's what I'm getting. I'm understanding how I can be even better, how I can actually scale solutions and try to make things work. And we say at the climate school that every job is a climate job, and it's so interesting hearing my colleagues. We all have different backgrounds. We all treat different parts of the society, but they all connect by some point. And as Chris said, like, I also want to be part of these discussions. I want to be in front of the innovation. I want to be actually a leader in this area to try to change life for the better for everyone in this planet. Thank you.
So everyone in the room is facing a decision, right? You've been admitted and you're determining whether to accept your offer or not, which we hope you do. But for our panelists, like, what helped you make your decision? Why did you decide to enroll in the climate school and your specific program? Starting with Evan again.
I was actually on the fence between the MS and the MS in climate finance. So I can speak to this. I wanted to be in, the exact skill that I wanted to have is I wanted to be able to talk to an executive board team and say why you should care, here's the data, here's where the investment opportunity is. At the end of the day, I think that the MS in climate was a better fit for that particular goal. One interesting thing that I can mention about the program is it differs a bit in curriculum in the second semester. So our first semester, we're pretty much all together. As you may know, my second semester, I'm taking all of my courses in the business school, where you get a pretty dramatically different perspective on what's going on in the business world and how progress is being made on this front. Who's actually building the offshore wind and solar projects, for example, and how do they think about the problem versus how does the UN and the world think about, reducing harm to humanity? Very two different perspectives, very interesting, and I think it's provided me with a really rounded perspective that I'm looking for, so I hope that answers the question.
Great. Kara?
I was also in your shoes 1 year ago today. I came to the Admitted Students Day, and I feel like that had a big role in my decision. I really enjoyed getting to see the forum and also go to Lamont and do the tour there. That was a really great experience, and I was really interested after that tour to try to get involved at Lamont, and I did. I have been doing research at Lamont for the past 4 months or so, which has been really fantastic. But I think what really drew me to the MS in Climate program was that it would be kind of at the intersection of environmental science and data science, and that was something I wanted to get more involved in because I had done a minor in data science, but in my data science courses at UC Berkeley, we didn't look that much at climate data or environmental data hardly at all in those classes. And I was like, well, this is a big issue. We need data science, people who are knowledgeable about data science in this field too. We need to have programs that are like focused on that interdisciplinary point. And so when the climate school announced their MS in climate program, since last year was the inaugural class, I was like, I've got to apply. And I was so happy that I did, and so thrilled that I've been a part of this program for the last year. And I've really enjoyed getting to do more like working in Python with gridded climate model data. Like that's been really cool this semester, and also doing some quantitative analysis and statistical graphs in R for like precipitation and temperature, and that's been really fantastic as well. And we're also getting to do group projects on like choosing a topic of our choice about climate data, and that's been really awesome. So I think it was exactly what I was looking for, and there really was no other program that I could find that was teaching this intersection of climate science and data science. So I think like that was definitely what drew me in, and it's been really a fantastic experience, and I'm excited for next year to get to do some climate modeling and GIS for climate sustainability. I think those classes are going to be really fantastic.
Thank you. Allison.
Yeah, I think of the similar sentiment. I was really looking for something that, number one, would not shy me away. I mean, would not push me away because I'm a BA background. A lot of the programs that I was applying to had required me to have prerequisites in like physics or like environmental science or like chemistry, and I just didn't have that background. So the fact that the MS in climate program was just like so welcoming to interdisciplinary backgrounds, and that kind of intersection that Kira's mentioning was a really big like supporting factor for me. I think there's, even at work, like at NCDP, it's so interesting because like I grew up learning and hearing about like how you can tell the climate is changing just by like people have just known. So sometimes my grandmother would say like, okay, we won't plant this season, and we're all like confused, like why? Then she's like, wouldn't give an explanation, but then like later on we figure out, she's like, oh, these birds have come in season, and if you see these birds, then it means that there's probably going to be a very dry season. And in fact, there was a very dry season. But how do you put that into a model? Like you can't really put that into a model. So, so to be able to come to this program where we were learning like exactly how to like run these graphs, run these statistical analysis, and to be able to also be in classes where we are talking about how we, and why we know what we know is just a really cool space. Like I don't think I would have gone that at a program that would have been purely analytical or purely, I guess, technical in its framing. This program allows you that flexibility to do kind of like however you place the program. Yeah.
Thank you. Nikko.
Yeah, I would echo everything down this line, so I'll try not to be too redundant. But yeah, last year I just kind of had a gut feeling, and I'm a big guy who just, I go with my gut. And I was very worried. I was very nervous. Obviously, it's a big investment. But I think if you're willing to have, I was just talking to Mindy the other day, there's like a triangle. You get enough sleep, you get a social life, and I can't remember the third one, but I'm on, in grades, yeah, I'm on like 3 hours of sleep right now. But everyone in this room, I'm sure, is very passionate about what they do. If you're willing to jump in the water and know that you might want to pull your hair out some nights, I think you should jump forward. I mean, the admitted student stay was a big step for me. I kind of saw everyone where we're all at right now, and I could see the genuine relationship and the care that everyone had for each other. And I feel that same way with everyone here and the rest of my colleagues. We all have very different backgrounds, but you can learn whatever you want to learn, not just from the great staff here, but from these very smart people next to me. So whatever you want to learn, you can go dig down that rabbit hole and learn it here. You're also in New York City. Anything you want outside of this campus is here for you. You just have to go find it. So yeah, if anything, I'd say jump in if you really care. Yeah.
Wonderful. And Christopher, what about you?
I think I knew I was coming when I came to Admitted Students Day, but I was looking for something that would make it okay, like, see, yes, this was a good idea. And what got me was the faculty panel, and then I got a chance to talk to a couple people after. And one of the things that I've come to realize is that if you decide to come to Columbia Climate School, there's not a better climate school type experience from a faculty perspective that's available to you anywhere in the English-speaking world. You're going to get to be with the best teachers. If you're here, the best scientists, the best researchers. It's not that there aren't other ones in other places. It's just that you're going to be with the rock stars if you're here. Whether you advantage yourself of that is another question. But I think that's what really settled it for me, was meeting some faculty and then getting a sense of what a powerhouse this place was from that perspective. Because I think there's a part of my personality that would always be wondering, should I have done some other thing? Should I have gone some other place? Was this a terrible mistake? You know, this whole thing. So that's what reassured me. So I encourage you, I assume there's a faculty panel today, but try to listen in and think, are these the people that I want to rub shoulders with and learn from? And if something lights up, go talk to them after and see if there's a connection there. Are these folks that you want to work with? But that's what did it for me.
Great insights. And the faculty panel is just after this one. Stella.
So a couple of reasons. First, New York is amazing. It's a safe haven for us international students. It's a great city, the city that never sleeps. So much fun all the time, and so many events, opportunities to get to know people and to experience life itself. Second, Columbia. It's an Ivy League. Obama studied here. This is amazing. And since I am a mid-career professional, I've been working a while. I'm doing the MA program, not the MS. I wanted to do a shorter program, so I think 1 year was enough for me to have this experience and to learn some more so I could become a better professional. And I was listening to my colleagues, and Kira was telling, oh, I'm very happy that I'm getting to do a lot of data analysis. And this scared me a little bit before coming here because I'm so bad at it. And we do have some classes, quant, we have dynamics. I was super scared before, but I got it. It's possible. Don't let the core curriculum scare you, because we can do it. We're very united. We have a lot of assistants. We have a lot of TAs. We have a lot of office hours. And I learned a lot, even though I'm not a data expert. I came here because I wanted to understand a bit more about strategy, about management, and to be close to the minds that are like leading the field. I am a circular economy specialist, and I'm having classes with Professor Sandra Goldmark, and she's one of the people that are in top of the field. She wrote a book. She's amazing. So it's the possibility of networking with the brightest minds, and being at Columbia gives you access to a lot of different people. People are generally, like the alumni, they're so open to talk to you and to understand your journey and to guide you in the right direction. So people help each other a lot in this space. So yeah, I hope this helps help you guys make this decision.
Thank you.
Really quick, I just wanted to add something since the MS Climate Finance is underrepresented on this panel. One question that I just thought of is, why not just do an MBA if you're thinking about climate finance? And I'll give you an example as to the type of knowledge that you're getting in the MS Climate Finance program that I think is so valuable. I'm in this course called Climate Tech. It's with MBAs and engineers, and our entire semester is working with a venture capital firm to identify opportunities in the area of their choice. The thing that I chose to focus on was disaster and resilience startups. The premise is, there's this retraction of FEMA funding, disasters going to work over the next few years. Like, what's the world going to look like? And are there going to be any private opportunities that step up to fill that need? And I got to say, because we had such a great core curriculum the first semester, we are 100 times more prepared to answer that question than the MBAs are. The expertise that we have, the science, what the world's actually going to look like, how policy might change in the next few years. We are very far ahead of them for these particular set of questions, which I think is extremely valuable. So I hope that answers that.
And that's a great segue into the next question, which is focused on electives and cross-registration. So I want to hear from the panel what course you have enjoyed most as your electives and why. And we're actually going to start with Stella. And Evan, you can think about a different course.
Guys, it's so hard choosing electives because there's so many interesting classes in this school. But I chose to focus on my career. I'm doing circular economy, so I figured since I'm here, let me be more technical, let me learn more about how can I improve in this ecosystem. So my favorite electives were storytelling with Professor Lydia. It's from climate school, and we all have to better understand how to communicate, right? Climate, it's all about communication. It's looking at the different stakeholders. How do they want to hear about this? Because it's such a wicked problem. It's so hard to communicate this without bringing chaos and without bringing, like, we need to bring hope, right? So it was a nice skill that I developed. And this semester in particular, I'm doing climate change law and policy with Professor Foster. She's just brilliant. It's all of her classes, we stay like, oh my God, don't stop talking. I wish I could stay here the whole day. And I'm learning a lot about policy in general and US policy, because being a Brazilian, I don't have a lot of experience in this field, so I think it's very useful. And we need to understand how to navigate in different directions, as Evan was telling. Policy, science, strategy management, we need to touch in all of these points if we want to be a better professional. And one of my favorite classes also that I'm doing cross-registration at SUMA. I'm doing life cycle analysis. It's a very technical class. I'm learning literally how to do a product life cycle analysis, but my professor is director of sustainability at Tapestry, for an example. Tapestry, it's Coach and Kate Spade. And I'm also doing supply chain management, because if I want to reduce waste, I need to learn how to reduce waste before it becomes waste. So I think this is being very helpful. So focus on what you have curiosity, the skills you want to develop, and always talk to students that did the class before, because sometimes I was like, oh, I want to do this class, and people told me, don't do it, or oh my God, do it. So people are in general very open to give you insights.
Thank you. Christopher.
I always think that's the trick question, your favorite class, right? And you think, well, who's listening? Who will know? Do I have one favorite? So I agree that Lydia Pilcher's storytelling class, you're not usually going to get to have something like that. An award-winning film producer is going to come in and show you how to do audience segmentation, how to get your message across. And never forget, says the former film student, for people who are in the business that we are in some way in the climate of trying to convince others to see things in a certain way, people are voluntarily paying to sit there in a movie theater and accept whatever you offer them. So bringing in someone at that level can help. I'm taking Black Ecologies this semester, and that's a wild ride, not just because I'm a middle-aged white dude, but fair, right? What I like about that is three things. One, we're doing it in a relational way. So that is not distinct from an academic lens, but important. There's a warmth and a vulnerability that goes with that. That's sort of extraordinary. I don't know if Christina Douglas is going to be on the panel you're going to see, but she's teaching that. Also, the two other things I'd say about the class are, if you get to do an elective, you're working with a faculty member who really wants to teach about this. So this is their area, right? Their love offering. So you get a depth of care that you're not going to find if they got stuck teaching, an intro class, which you've all experienced that in undergrad. The third thing I would say is one of the revelations to me about the class was all of the history that's been left out that I was never taught. So a lot of the times in the climate space, we focused on the things we know and the things we understand happened, but not so much on what we didn't know, what didn't happen, and what didn't get said, what nobody even knew about. So I think it's always important to look at the shadow side there. I'd say one other thing, you might not see the class you want, but you don't even know the name for that maybe. So you can do independent study here at the climate school. If you can convince a faculty member that the area that you want to work on isn't represented strongly enough at the climate school and they agree to supervise you, you can get credit for doing independent study. It has to be real with that person. So some of us are doing that too. And that's a wonderful chance to work with someone who's really, really strong in the field and can help you get into whatever area you feel you wouldn't be able to get into any other way. So that's been rewarding. I'm working with Lisa Sachs on basically how we might delegitimize the narrative around carbon offsets and carbon credits and articulating viable repair-based alternatives to that to avoid that future question. Anyway, those are my favorites.
Thank you. And Nikko?
Yeah, I'm gonna speak on two classes. So my first would be Energy Markets and Innovation, which is in SUMA, the School of Professional Studies. So a little more technical, which is good for like my qualitative background. We're learning how to forecast like where are investment flows going for future technologies. Everyone throws around like battery storage. We're looking at like the specific types of battery storages and where they're appropriate in different regions, why they're appropriate there, and just being able to like predict and forecast how certain technologies are going to be deployed has been very helpful in this space where I kind of focus on energy. And Travis Bradford's been in the energy space for 20 plus years. We have to read an entire textbook. It's longer than the Bible. So I've really enjoyed the technical aspect of that. And it's just a very engaging class overall. No laptops, very demanding, but well worth it. And then my second class that I'd really like to highlight is the Environmental Justice Law and Policy seminar at the law school. So these are both cross-registered outside of the climate school. It's with Professor Foster as well. I may have some bias. And that class has been exceptional, one, because it's like there's maybe 15 of us, and but more so given everything that's happening in the US. She had to scrap her entire syllabus. The entire textbook got thrown out. And we're working with case studies that are currently ongoing. Currently in like the environmental justice field, everyone's kind of aware we're rolling back federal regulations, federal precedents. So everyone in the field doesn't really know how to address these problems, and it's great I wouldn't say it's great, but it's shocking that we're at the forefront of it, and like we're actively trying to decide how what's the plan of attack, given the absence of the federal administration, and just like courts doing what courts are supposed to do. So, for example, like we're looking at cumulative impact laws, which is currently being processed and put through in the state of New York. New Jersey's done it already, but talking through what are those logistics and like language and the controversy of like the specific language. So it's just it's eye-opening and it's a little frustrating, but it's great to know like these issues haven't been solved and we get to be part of that conversation of how that future might look and how we're going to address this. So that would be my two classes. I could talk forever about it, but I won't.
Thank you. Great conversations to continue over lunch. Allison?
I think one of the classes that I had taken an elective in was with the Sustainable Development School. It was like a co-taught class between the data science department and sustainable development. And it was really cool because we got to partner with two different organizations. One was Bronx Unite, and another one was Staten Island Urban Center. And essentially what we did was we flew drones. Really cool. Really cool. We flew drones. We did wind LiDAR data in Bronx, and then we did flood mapping data in Staten Island. And then we essentially had helped or worked with them in what they had already been planning to present to the community leads on access. I was on the team that was doing Staten Island Urban Center. So we had done the access to the North Shore waterfront, the economic implications, and then viable options for community kind of like vitality to bring back the maritime industry kind of activities. And I thought that was really cool. The professors, again, are really, really nice. They had offered us to take part, or separately apart from the class, to take our part I think 007 FAA droning license. So I'm currently studying to take my exam, so you can be certified on your own to fly drones. So that's a really cool opportunity. I'm gonna be bragging about that for a whole minute. And then I think just knowing and what they were saying, some of these professors are just really cool people. So making genuine connections and just ongoing dialogue with them has gone a long way. One of the professors for that class served as my reference letter to an application to NASA. So it's just really cool. Some of these professors and people are just, very looking out to help you and learn and expand in spaces that are ongoing and changing. Then the last one is a regional forecasting class, which is very technical with Andrew. We work with the IRI data set, and we kind of know that that's also part of the things that are being rolled back. I think the platforms that we're using as our homework are gonna be scrapped in, I think, a month or something. It's again really interesting to be in the space where people are still figuring out a lot that is changing. So you're in you're really at the high level. There's nothing, I don't want to say there's nothing beyond it, but really people are working on the problem as you're in the class. Our professors we don't know what's happening in a month's time. So it's nice to know we're all in the same boat. Yeah.
Now I want to take that drone class. I'm taking 2 electives this semester that are outside of the climate school. The first one is landscape analysis in the Ecology, Evolution, and Environmental Biology department, and that's with Marcia Macedo and Jay Schoen. And that class is really fantastic because we're getting to do mapping in Google Earth Engine and trying to classify different types of land covers. And we just had a guest speaker from the organization called Map Biomas, which is based in South America, and they are tracking deforestation in the Amazon rainforest, and they are one of the leading organizations doing this. So it's really cool to hear from one of their leading analysts about real time what they're learning about deforestation and how they're mapping it across the entire rainforest, and how they're also applying that to other regions of the world. I think right now they're expanding their research into India as well. So, and then I'm starting to learn how to do some of those same analysis techniques in Google Earth Engine in another programming language, JavaScript. So don't ask me how I'm managing 3 programming languages in one semester, but that's also been really great. And then I'm also taking biodiversity and the climate crisis in the Sustainable Development Department with Jenna Lawrence, and that's also really great because every week we're focusing on a different biome in the world. This week we're focusing on wetlands, and that's been really cool too, and learning about how they really contribute to carbon sequestration around the world. So those are really great classes, and I encourage you to try taking classes outside of the climate school as well.
Awesome. I think you can tell that you really get to create your own journey here, this diverse range of options you can choose from. In the MS in Climate Finance program, we take courses from the climate school and mostly the business school in the second semester. So I'll talk about another elective there that's not climate tech. Happens to be my favorite is financing energy infrastructure. So it's taught by Professor William Bond, who has made his whole career out of working both on the lending and the project side, developing these massive solar, offshore wind, or in some cases even nuclear projects. And every week you go into the class, you read the case beforehand, and you just imagine what it's like to be an investor deciding whether they're going to go through this project. you talk about all the considerations of these mega projects that are just absolutely have astronomical costs, are total nightmares to turn into reality, and yet you learn how it actually gets done. And this is particularly something I'm particularly passionate about, because it's, how do you get these projects done in the real world? What are the obstacles that these organizations face? And it is way different than the perspective you get in the first semester, as I mentioned, but it's an important one nonetheless. The last thing I wanted to mention about how cool this class is, so we take it with MBAs. We have two veterans who worked on nuclear subs. And so when we talk about this massive nuclear project called Sizewell-C that ended up getting scrapped at the last second, we also just happened to get this amazing perspective of like the feasibility of nuclear, what the future looks like. And being able to talk with those people in your class and talk about what it's like to build a nuclear reactor and see if it's going to work or not is a really amazing perspective, especially if you're somebody who wants to understand how are we going to power data centers, how are we going to power anything really in the next 15 to 25 years as power demands increase. Anyway, I think that sheds enough color on it, so yeah.
Thank you all. A lot of amazing courses to take across the climate school and the university. Let's open it up to you now. So please raise your hand if you have a question. I think we'll have 2 mics going around. So I see a couple in the middle.
Can you share that syllabus?
Hi, I'm Rachel, and I'm interested in the Master's in Science program. Also, I go to Wesleyan, so I was excited to hear about Wesleyan. Yay. But I'm curious about how often you spend at the Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory, and especially for you, Kira, like how did you get involved with research and how do you balance that with all of your coursework?
Thanks for that question. So I got involved at Lamont because the climate school had posted several part-time research opportunities that are paid in the fall semester, and so I applied, and then I got interviewed. I applied for 3, and then I got interviewed by my first choice, which was the Soil Systems Lab with Dr. Yushu Shia, and so I started working there in November, and I've been working about 15 hours a week, and I'm working on both doing lab tests with soil samples, and it's a very wide variety of tests, so I'm learning like a new technique every couple of weeks. And I'm also working on developing digital soil mapping models, which is also where the Google Earth Engine landscape analysis class comes in. I took that because I felt like it would help me with my research too. So I'm using both GIS and Google Earth Engine to develop these digital soil mapping models to kind of make vast maps of the amount of like soil carbon and different soil health characteristics across like New York. And seeing where the different agricultural techniques have greater potential for soil carbon storage, and also just soil health in grasslands, agricultural lands, rangelands, croplands, and forests. And then my PI is doing the same work, but at a much broader scale. I think she's contributing to models across the entire United States, and so are other members of her lab. In terms of balancing time, I just set aside 2 days of the week where I'd like plan to be at Lamont for most of the day, and just sticking to that schedule has made it fairly easy to balance my schedule. But I do admit that I am taking a pretty heavy course load this semester, so sometimes it's a little bit challenging. But she's also very understanding. But I feel like all the PIs and researchers at Lamont are like really enthusiastic about students being interested in working with them. Even if there isn't a research position or research or a lab that you're interested in and they don't have any postings, you can still reach out to the PI and ask if they have any work that you could do. I think some of my friends have gotten involved doing research at Lamont that's paid over the last few months as well, just by reaching out to professors. So I think there's a lot of opportunities there, and they've also posted like quite a few research positions over the summer as well. So I'm going to also be doing biodiversity reporting with Professor Zoe Xu part-time over the summer, and perhaps also continuing doing some work in the soil lab. But yeah, definitely reach out to professors. A lot of the professors that teach your core courses are also doing research at Lamont, and many of them are also contributors to the IPCC reports. So definitely reach out to professors and just look for those Wednesday weekly emails.
Thank you so much. That's so cool.
Hi, I have a question for Evan. You mentioned that you get to work with a fund and advise decisions on climate investments. How's that experience been? And I'd love to learn more about that climate tech class you mentioned. And broadly, what's your experience been like interacting with industry professionals who come in to instruct on the different parts of the curriculum? I'd love a comment on that as well.
Cool. So I'll talk really briefly about climate tech. So the whole premise of the course is you mix climate finance students, MBA students, and engineering students. There's about 50 of us in total. And we are split up among 10 venture capital organizations who have basically asked for free labor from Columbia. And so we split into teams, and you choose the area of focus you like to work on. And we meet with our senior members of our venture capital team, and we talk about what is it they're interested in, how can we help, what kind of research do you need to be done, what are the experts we need to talk to, and we basically just go down the rabbit hole of meeting experts in the field, doing research on emerging companies, what tech exists, what tech are we expecting to emerge in the next 5 to 10 years, and depending on the category that you choose, your experience will vary. For example, the battery tech team and the chip technology innovation team, those guys have way more technical nuance to run through, and they have a different set of issues. I'm focusing on disaster and resilience, which is less tech heavy, but more focused on, what is the state of the world going to look like that will prompt the private sector to intervene and start doing things. And it's the other experience that I'll add there is I've just gotten this amazing experience of what's out there. One of the amazing conclusions that my team has drawn in this semester is, the things that people are building that are not affiliated with the government, things that people are building to fight forest fires, like physical things and AI monitoring, are just so cool. It just kind of blows my mind what's out there, and it gives you a little bit of hope, because you're like, okay, in 10 years, if we have the capability to monitor and send something out to the remote forest to put out a fire in time, like forest fires might not be the issue that they are now, and places that are currently not insurable or places that insurance companies are pulling out of may be insurable again after all because of some things that you see emerging. So that's been my experience. And your other question, what's it like to be speaking with experts in the classroom? So in the business school, you have a lot of practitioners who are maybe still working full-time or part-time as your professors. There's two things that I want to say. The one is, of course, incredible experience. You get to hear, like one of my professors, for example, is called Aniket Shah. He's the main sustainability research guy at Jefferies Investment Bank. And he just talks to all of these Fortune 500 companies and advises them on what's your sustainability policy going to be. And you just get this perspective and you get a really deep understanding of data that he has that helps you inform your own opinions and beliefs. The other piece that I want to mention about having professionals teach your class is you don't have to agree with them. They all disagree with each other, which is something that's really fascinating to me. They have different perspectives and they just straight up disagree with each other, and you get to be the person to decide what your views are going to be. And I think that I'll reiterate this is because of that really amazing first semester, that core course load, you are better positioned to make these judgment calls than I think anybody else. Is there another climate school, So you really get this perspective and this this advantage, I think. So yeah.
I think we have time for maybe two more questions.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Addie. I'm a MS Climate. My question's for Evan and whoever else wants to answer. If you were to apply again, what's something that you wish you knew about the experience at Columbia?
I'll take this one, even though I'm not an MS in science person. Plus, we have to balance it out. I'm in the MA program, so we have to show the flag since Evan's showing the finance flag over here. Got to balance it out. Okay, what I wish I had known. First thing I would say is there is an incredibly high level of support available to you here at Columbia. So I think in orientation, the head of the Columbia Health System was here and said, at no other time in your life are you going to be this well supported if you want to do it. So if you get into this program, they will help you get there. I mean, you'll have to ask for help. You might need this and that, but you can get there. So I didn't need to be as afraid about some of these things. What was I afraid of in particular? I mean, this is different for everybody, right? But for me, I was like, oh no, quant, dynamics. I was one of those people in high school was like, I'm never going to need to calculate the area under a curve, so bye. Never going to see this material again. Right? And then now I'm at the climate school. So I didn't need to be as nervous as I was about the pieces that I thought would be hard for me. Another thing I wish I'd known was the way AI was getting into everything. So this is always a fun topic at the climate school, but I'll just say this. My dynamics section was taught by Michaela, who said, look, if you go to the gym and you bring a forklift and it deadlifts and squats for you, you're going to put up some great numbers. But you are not going to get stronger and you are not going to learn anything. So I realize that we exist in an environment where there are large language learning models and machines that can do a lot of this. But the athlete in me wants to say, like, remember why you might come here. You're coming here to voluntarily submit to the discomfort of growing and of learning everything you can. And think what we're facing. If you come to this school and you get into this fight, this is the biggest fight civilization has ever faced. You will see in your lifetimes whether we get there or whether we die trying. You need to be as strong as you can be if you are going to win that fight.
I think.
Anybody else?
Oh, you want to take that? Every time Christopher speaks, I'm just like, and then? Thanks so much for that. I think on a similar sentiment, something that I wish I knew was like, I had this fear of like, oh my gosh, there's so many smart people, like, I don't know if I'll be able to keep up. And I think what I needed to be told was that intelligence is so relative, like it almost doesn't exist. Like, there's no such thing as an intelligent person. What you have are people that remain in proximity to knowledge and are not afraid to consistently be in that uncomfortable space of like, I'm learning. Everyone here came here to learn. So if you have a question and you think it's stupid, ask it. I promise you somebody else thought it but wasn't brave enough to ask it. The amount of times that I raised my hand and I was like, should I ask? And then like, everyone's like slowly nodding. I'm like, oh, so everyone is also confused. Like, yeah, so don't be afraid of this thing of like, I'm not smart enough. Everyone came to learn, including your professors. Yeah.
Great.
I just can I just add something? I think it's very important, especially for international students. I'm currently an intern for the career management team, and I absolutely adore it. I think I'm having a lot of opportunity to understand a little bit more of the US market. And one thing I wish I knew before coming here is your job search starts even before your program starts. A lot of the Big Four companies and consultancies, they open positions for summer internships now, like March, April. So if you guys don't know that, it's worth giving it a look. And also use the resources that are offered to you, do the summer activity we have to do for the career management. It's a way to prepare yourselves for the job market, because as Chris said, we are facing a huge problem ahead of us, but we need a way to support ourselves in order to do it, and we need to be in the organizations. So it's very important to think about your careers, and also networking. Networking is the only way of getting to understand the space. So people are generally very open to talk to you, to do coffee chats on LinkedIn. So even before starting the program, start reaching out to people, start mapping out the ecosystem, understanding the companies that you want to work for, talk to people. So this way you can leverage your program even more. Because if I know what I want to do a little bit, I don't have to know everything, but if I know some types of job positions that I might want to work, if I talk to someone, I'll have more clarity. So I think it's very important to start even before coming to New York.
Thank you, Stella. And Alfred has graced us with one more question, so last one.
You can hand it up.
Hi. First, I want to say thanks to all of you guys for taking your time to come talk to us. I'm sure your schedules are super busy, and it's been very valuable to hear your insights. My question is, what has your guys' experience been with class sizes between both the core and your elective classes? And how has that impacted your ability to make connections with your professors?
I call dibs. I asked this exact question last year. I think I was like 2 spots over. So like the fall semester, the classes are generally a little bigger because I'm from like a small liberal arts college, so like small classroom settings was very important to me. And while it was like bigger classroom structures, there was still plenty of time if you wanted to meet with your professor during office hours. They always tell you, please like reach out. And most of the time, I don't know, 80% of the students aren't visiting for office hours. That's a guess. But I say that because anytime you want to meet with them, you can. Specifically in the climate school, I've had a class in SUMA where my professor is the Public Service Commissioner chair. So getting office hours with him has been maybe a little harder. But in the climate school, it's very easy to build that relationship with your professor if you want to. And the TAs as well are just great. Some of them, most of them, you know, have been in this program already. So even though it's a bigger class for those core curriculums, in the spring semester and even in my fall semester, I had an elective where my class size was 12, 13 people. So me and my professor would regularly like get coffee before and after, and it still felt like that small college experience I had prior. So I think it's up to you. I mean, there's a couple classes that are going to be larger, but when you're picking your electives, you can see the general size of those classes if a smaller class setting is something for you. So.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Please join me in thanking our panelists.